welcome everybody to Spartan Theology. Today, we're just kind of doing a bit of a little impromptu video. Answers and Reasons recently put out a video where there are 10 questions for theists. We're just going to go through these, respond, kind of talk about our answers. I've seen a few other people respond to them. I saw Nathan with Digital Gnosis responded earlier today. And I know there's been a few others. I know the Answers and Reasons guys plan to look at all these responses too, so I think that'll be pretty cool. And Middle Theologian, how you doing in the chat? I see he's saying, can't wait to hear how we all need to read Frank Turek's book. Yes, that's exactly what we're getting at here. But,
man.
Yeah, I know. But, yeah, so, Than, actually, yeah, I should introduce Than, too. I'm losing my mind. I haven't done a live stream in a while, so I feel like I'm, thinking about a million things. But I'll kind of let Than introduce himself. We've, met through Eddie with Brute Facts, and then we've just kind of been in some similar circles. But we haven't really done a stream together or anything like that, so I'm excited to have him on. But, yeah, if you could just kind of introduce yourself, introduce your channel. I'll put a link in the description once we're done with this. But
cool. Yeah, so I'm Than Christopoulos. I run a channel called Exploring Reality. I work with some of the top. This sounds like a typical spiel here, but I work with some of the top scholars like Dr. Rasmussen, certain historians as well, and I try to take all that their academic stuff and I try to bring it to the popular level because I think that the state of apologetics, as much as I even hate that word, in the American church is really shallow, and I want to be part of changing that. So that's what I do.
Yeah, totally agree. I really like some of your stuff. I know you recently did a really cool thing with Dr. Josh Rasmussen. He did a webinar on your channel. I actually haven't watched it yet. It looks. I really want to sit down and watch it when I had some time, not just have it in the background. But it seemed really cool.
It was just newer arguments against reductive physicalism.
Interesting.
If you know what that is.
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah. But yeah, Than's kind of I feel like we're kind of similar but very different channels. His is more the philosophical and mine's more biblical theology type stuff. But both trying to just bring sort of the academic down to, everyday people, kind of dispel some of these just horrible arguments and whatnot that a lot of people use. But yeah, so that should be pretty cool as we go into these questions because I'm sure we'll have some different responses. But I can just go ahead and play the first one and we'll go from there. Should be this difficult. Hold on. Wait. I'm realizing that it's whatever. It's gonna look weird for a second in between each question, but.
Hey folks, Joe from Answers and Reason here, doing something a little bit different. Seeing as we've responded to a number of different videos of the 10 questions for atheists type kind, both from theists and atheists, we thought it might be fun to actually ask some of the questions ourselves rather than answer them. We do really care about the responses, and hopefully we can create a little mini-series out of them. Question 1. If you are a religious theist, what religion are you? And what do you feel unifies folks of your faith? If you're some form of secular theist, which God do you believe in, and why don't you adhere to any religion?
So I guess you could hear that fine, right?
Yeah.
Just be sure. Yeah. So I guess I'll kind of start off. So I'm myself, obviously I'm a Christian. If not obviously, but if you're following the channel, I would think it would be pretty obvious. But I'm a Christian. But I think the interesting part of this question is the first part, or the second part of this first one here. What do you feel unifies folks of your faith? And this is something I think when you first become a Christian, really simple. Everybody that's a Christian is, simple as that. But it's, as I've been, especially for myself, as someone who's a universalist, I think there's a lot more that can kind of unify different faiths. And I think even people that aren't universalists, so can, I know, sort of maybe a Muslim or whatever, has a big, strong misunderstanding about God, but maybe they still, there are some Muslims that still, they don't realize that they're believing in the same God type situation, sort of, if that makes sense. And I think that's where this question can get interesting. But as far as I'm basically not I don't have any. I don't try and say like, oh, you're not a real Christian or anything like that. I'm pretty open to. Yeah, so I think just really just like believing. It's interesting. I think because it's like the resurrection is definitely part of it. But like, what does that mean? Because you got scholars like Dale Allison who holds
Yeah.
like a much more spiritual view of the resurrection. I definitely would call him a Christian. I've learned so much from him and just so. But I mean, it really comes down to like being willing to put your faith in Jesus Christ for sure. I mean, that's obviously a big part of it. I don't know. I'm sure you have some thoughts. Let me.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm a Christian too. I This is pretty much just like the Sunday school answer here, right? If you don't have a complex answer, the answer is probably just Jesus. Um, and I think that's like really what just unifies all the different denominations within Christianity. It's we might disagree on soteriology, or we might disagree on um, different views of the Trinity, secondary, maybe transubstantiate, whatever it might be, right? But at the end of the day, whether you're Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, Baptist, Calvinist, whatever it might be, I think we all, at least at the end of the day, agree that we are saved through Christ, and God has called us into a relationship with Him. That's for like sure. It's like a Sunday school answer, but
yeah, no, for sure. It can get a little interesting too, like think about like Mormons or Jehovah's Witness or something along those lines, because they would definitely say they believe in Jesus, but it's I would say it's a much different Jesus for sure.
Oh yeah. So, and I didn't want to get like too
exactly, yeah, and I know that's not what this.
That.
Yeah, I know that's not what this question's asking. I'm like the worst about like any sort of my brain goes a million miles an hour, but for sure, like I mean, what unifies people of Christian faith for sure is just trust in Jesus Christ. It's really
but I would agree with you. Like there's lots of people out there that would call themselves Christians that I would kind of be like about, but yeah, that's a different question, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe I'm thinking a little too far into this. For sure.
Question 2. If there was any religion that was completely different to your own, that you could choose to be true and proven to be true to the entire world, which would it be? Now, I'm not talking about a denomination that you see quite as different as yours. If you're a Christian, don't pick another form of Christianity or even Judaism. Think about something really out there like ancient Norse mythology or Hinduism. Question 3.
Yeah. I'll throw it to you. We'll switch off going first.
Okay.
I guess that can make it a little interesting.
Okay, so if I had to pick a religion to be true, like somehow Christianity was proven false, and I have to pick another religion to be true that I just want to be true. It sounds weird, but something about Norse mythology sounds really cool to me. The whole concept of Valhalla sounds really cool. So I would say something like that. But on the other hand, there's certain types of paganism that like would seem appealing if Christianity was false too. But sure. I'm not to get into too much into the weeds with that too, I guess.
Yeah, no, this one for sure. Like I'm definitely like a person that has trouble with like hypothetical questions. So when I first thought about this, it's like, well, if Christianity, like the way I understand Christianity is like it seems like if Christianity is true, it is the religion that is the best. So it would make no sense for me to want anything else to be true. But that doesn't. I know that's beside the question. So when he brought up like Norse mythology, that got me thinking like, okay, what's something basically like what would be a fun, more like just kind of cool or something. And I thought actually whatever, I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it would be cool if like the oldest religion ever was actually real or whatever that is. I'm not like super, but it'd be pretty crazy if like, like cavemen like got it right. You know what I mean? I thought that would be pretty interesting. Like they just came up with this like worshiping the sun or whatever, and just like that actually was like the true religion. Like we still did that to this day. I thought that was fairly interesting. But then paganism or something, and then I'm just like thinking like whatever religion believes in magic or whatever, that would be pretty cool too.
Yeah. If I could, like, I would probably make up a religion, to be honest with you.
True.
But growing up, I used to like wish Dragon Ball Z was like a realistic thing, so I could go Super Saiyan.
There you go.
But that's out of the question.
Yeah, that's not. I don't know if Dragon Ball Z counts as a religion, but maybe to some people.
Ancient Norse mythology or Hinduism? Question 3. What's your favourite verse or story from your holy book?
Yeah, so this one, like, as I was like skimming through these before too, this came up and I swear I forgot like every story from the Bible. I couldn't even think of something, but I thought, and as far as like just like a single verse or story, I've always been like when I first like really got into Christian theology and stuff, I really was into Genesis and understanding that, and I really found Genesis 15 for some reason. Like we were at a Bible study with a pastor and he was talking about this, and just like the whole idea that like right from the beginning, like when Abraham makes the covenant with God, there's like that whole scene where Abraham falls asleep and then like the fire and smoke like walks through the animals or whatever, and like that obviously is like God putting his life on the line for the covenant or whatever, and that's always like really stuck with me. So that was, I guess I'm really drawn to like the beginnings of things. I guess that kind of ties into my last answer too. So that I think it would be like my favorite. But maybe if I could throw in like a New Testament thing, I'm really drawn to John, and just like John 1, really just like obviously, I mean that's kind of everybody is interested in John 1, but
yeah. For me, okay, so I wasn't thinking about a story. I had a particular verse in mind, and that's Philippians 2:3-4. And that's do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. And that's kind of like a philosophy that I just try to live my life by in general, as I try to like represent Christ in the work that I do and just my everyday life. But you also brought up stories, and I have a horrible memory, but it's a story in the Old Testament where, long story short, like this guy was expecting something and then he didn't get what he wanted. And then he sits under a tree and tells God to like, let him die. And then God kind of works with him and gives him what he needs. Like, it's almost like a story about a guy being so depressed with life.
Isn't that God, Jonah, like under the tree or whatever?
No, it wasn't Jonah. Gosh,
there is a part with Jonah or whatever with a tree.
Yeah. That's
the
worm
a little
like
different. Eats it or whatever. But yeah.
But yeah, so there's this. The thing I really like about that story is, you have a character who's like so depressed that he wants to die, and he's crying out to God, and God doesn't tell him to just have faith. God doesn't tell him what to do. Like none of these things, right? Like, what does God do? He just takes care of him physically, gives him like food, shelter, all this other stuff. And I really like that story just because I think there's a lot of stuff in the American church when it comes to mental health issues that get ignored. And I say that being somebody that's experienced that in the past. So I just like that story because it connects home and kind of gives a good example of what God might want us to do instead when it comes to people that have mental health issues.
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely, a can of worms there too. All these questions definitely open up a can of worms.
Question 4. If there was one thing you could choose not to be true about your religion, what would it be?
Oh, this is a tough one. Okay, so when we're answering this question, are we answering it like, is it a religious belief, like certain, I guess, facts about the faith, or is it more like what do people do about the faith? Because those are like two separate camps.
Exactly. I have a hard time thinking about this one too. I was like in Nathan's stream, I was like saying in the chat, like I don't really know how I would answer this one. So
yeah, so like my instinctual one is to say that homosexuality wouldn't be a sin. Because I'm really sympathetic to the people that are, and that do have like homosexual attractions. And I don't know. I just it's if I could change one thing, and if I could really just go to God and be like, why? That's the one thing I would want to ask and kind of change if I could, but I can't.
Yeah, but then like when you say, whenever something like that, I think about it, it's just like, if the way I see it, like if you were to go to God and say why, and He explained it, then it would obviously make sense, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely a reason. None of the things within like, if the way I see it, like if Christianity is true, I'm definitely saying all these things, but
Yeah.
if it is, then like there is a reason for everything. So it
Mm-hmm.
really doesn't make sense to, like, wish it wasn't true, because like you would only be making things worse by changing it.
Oh
I
yeah.
is like that's why I have a hard time. But as far as like things, I mean, I guess the one answer I could come with was just like, why do we like even experience evil in this world at all? It seems obviously like there could be I mean, there's obviously like theodicies and responses and
Yeah.
stuff, but it also seems like it would be pretty, legit just to like be born in heaven or whatever, that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then like as that one's still the same. Like there's obviously reasons for it. So I don't know. This one was a bit of a strange one.
As an example, the other day someone told me on Twitter that they wished pets would go to heaven with them. Question 5. What are some of the worst arguments you hear us atheists making?
Now this is a pretty good one though. This is interesting. I think like, I mean, Jesus mythicism is a big one for sure. That like, I think it's bad, and I think like even worse is like the arguments for it that you hear online are like even worse than like maybe some formulations of it can be. Like I mean, some people, like, I think when people get most like fairly deeper into Jesus mysticism, it just turns into like the Jesus as exactly described in the Bible is a myth, and that's fine, right? Like, I mean, sure, anybody, you can believe that, I mean, yeah. But as far as like Jesus didn't exist, like it just doesn't really make any sense to say that. So I think that's like one of my most frustrating thing when people are like dogmatic mythicists, where that just
Mm-hmm.
is probably my least favorite argument.
So for this, I have two answers, because I think a proper response to both camps is necessary, or if that makes sense. So on one end, we have like the typical like new atheist quips, like there aren't even arguments; they're just people saying like arguments are not evidence, claims are not evidence, that kind of stuff. Or people that just kind of make rhetorical quips about the Bible, calling us book club members, Sky Fairy, all that stuff.
I feel like
Um,
you debated someone like that, but
Yeah. Again, I didn't even want to debate
yeah.
him, but that's a different story. So that's one camp. But let's go with like the actual like meaningful arguments that people try to put up. So for instance, I think the worst argument people make, it would be more of like a Humean um argument against miracles. Because at the end of the day, it just seems like we're just making arguments from incredulity. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. I'm like, as far as philosophy goes, like the one area I think I study like the most is like epistemology. So some sort of arguments that use like just these like testimony can't be trusted under any
Hmm.
circumstance, or like you can never be justified in believing in miracles and stuff like that, or like for sure, yeah. As far as like the actual arguments go, yeah, I think it's just really, it's because it's pretty frustrating to like argue with someone where their epistemology, like you're just on such a different page and you see like these major flaws in it. It's really hard to like even talk to that person.
Question 6. If there was a behaviour from your fellow theists that you wish you could change, what would it be and why?
Uh,
Yeah, so actually, when I was skimming through this, I actually like never saw this question. So this one, yeah.
oh boy. I have a list.
Yeah, same.
um, Do you want to go first while I like think about
Sure.
which one I have to pick? Because oh
Yeah.
boy,
I mean, I think for sure is like the whole Christian nationalism, and I know that's like a big thing. Like,
yeah,
especially because on Twitter, I don't know if you saw it too. There's like that video going around of like all those people at some like mega church where are chanting "Let's go Brandon" or whatever. It's just like like this is. It's just like that. It just makes me sick at some point. You know, like
I
this.
know.
Yeah, it's.
Ugh.
I think that's. If I could change anything, it would be that for sure. But yeah, there's probably more too. But that's just
Yeah,
one that's kind of like in front of your face right now.
right. Uh, I can't stand that one. Like the people that there were even people that like took pictures of Trump and like made an Ascension of Jesus reference with Trump. Like it's just I got sick of that too. I would say okay. I guess this one doesn't hit close to home for me, but I've because of the realm that I work in, it's something I hear a lot, and it kind of just makes me kind of sick to my stomach to know that this happens a lot. So people that are going through doubts in their faith, the average response that they get are um, people telling them that they're just trying to justify their sin, um, pointing like gaslighting them, all this other stuff. Like just if you're going through doubts, you're a bad person, and you should feel bad, and you should not ask questions. All this other stuff. Um, I guess I'm really kind of sick of that, and I wish people would just educate themselves a little bit more so they can actually like lovingly help somebody walk through like a deconstruction process or a questioning or doubt period, rather than just pointing the finger at them.
For sure. That's really. I'm frustrating. I got like baby making a little bit of noise. I think we're good, but we're probably gonna like as soon as it's over, we'll probably end it. But I'm also looking at my camera. I think on the stream is like yeah. I'm like my camera's sort of frozen. I think.
You look fine for me.
Yeah, it's okay. I see my. I see. I see. I see. I have like a different camera.
Oh yeah, I got you pulled up on the stream. I see you now.
Yeah, but I was using my. I have like a phone. Hold on one second. Let me fix it. Amateur hour. But yeah, I have like a old iPhone that I'm using.
Oh
So
okay,
it
okay.
looks better, but it died on me. So I'm gonna be invisible for like this next question, but
You're
I
fine.
know people can hear me.
They'll see the cat wagging its tail.
Yeah, actually, like don't even see that I just turned invisible on OBS.
Question 7. What movie do you feel gives the most accurate representation of your faith? Going back as far.
So this one, I think I'm first or whatever. I'll go first or whatever. But I'm like not a big movie. I was a big, used to be a big movie guy, but that was like recent, the past like 5 or 6 years, maybe a little bit more. I really haven't been, and I've only been a Christian for like 5 years. So it's like so I don't really have a response like an answer to this one really at all.
Yeah, I'm not a big movie guy either. I guess God's not that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, dude, I don't know. I guess I'll just go with like the Tolkien Lord of the Rings kind of a thing because I know that he tried to put some Christian themes in there, but I'm not a big movie guy, so I don't really know. If I had to pick a TV show, I would pick The Chosen. But
Yeah, I've seen some of that, and that was really good. But yeah, it's not. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good response. So Lord of the Rings for sure. It's like there are a lot of Christian themes, but I know it's interesting because I'm curious. I don't know if you're familiar with Sentinel Apologetics, but he's like all about movies and stuff, and he's like made a whole like Matrix commentary, like links to Christianity and all this stuff. But yeah, I'm not. So
As you remember, have you always been a theist? Has it always been the same God? Have you ever changed denomination? If so, from what to what? Question 9.
Yeah, I think you're first on this one, maybe.
yeah, okay. So I was not always a theist. So I'm Greek, so I kind of grew up as like a cultural Greek Orthodox guy. And then once I got like old enough to start questioning things, um, in high school, I just kind of decided I'm an atheist. And about 5 years ago, uh, I started like questioning things again, and actually had a religious experience. Well, I've actually had a few religious experiences. Um, at like the fourth one, I was like, okay, I don't know how to explain this, kind of a thing. And there was a series of events and evidences that kind of led me to Christianity. Went through a crisis of faith, like almost deconverted, and then reestablished my faith once I realized I didn't have to be like a young earth creationist and stuff like that. So that's the long story short for me.
Yeah, so I grew up like basically like nominally Catholic, culturally Catholic, whatever you want to call it. Like,
Hmm.
but and then as I got like into high school and college, I just like stopped even thinking about it. And I think really before I just never really thought religion was super important. So I would never call myself an atheist, but I just like I don't know. Well, yeah, I think atheist is like basically the term I was like
Hmm.
just didn't think it was super important, so didn't really have an opinion. But um, and then it says, oh yeah, has always been the same God. So yeah, if I've never been any other religion, that's for sure though. And but so I changed from Catholic, and then when I became a Christian like 5 years ago, it was in a Reformed evangelical church. So I like been sort of Reformed Calvinist, but have recently, like the past like 2 years, really changed a lot of my theology. I still like hold to some. I still consider myself like part of the Reformed tradition, but not really like a Calvinist like most people would probably like think
Yeah.
about. I don't like hold to double pre. I mean, obviously as a universalist, like there's like a big part of Calvinism with the whole like elected to be
Hmm.
reprobate or whatever. That's not a part of my theology, but yeah, so it's been like fairly consistent, but not. I don't know. I've changed on a lot of subtopics or secondary topics and whatnot.
From what to what? Question 9. If there was one free paper or article that you think atheists should read, have a think about, and respond to, what do you think it should be? Question.
Yeah,
Free.
yeah, I know. I forgot. Like it says free, so I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes it pretty difficult. But actually, like since it does say free, I'll go with something I read really recently, and it was a sermon by George MacDonald, who was like a Scottish theologian, in, like the 1800s. But it was on like a blog, like a somebody put it online, obviously in English, and I guess they speak English in Scotland. I'm an idiot, but whatever, very ignorant of other cultures. I'm an American, don't judge me. But yeah, so I recently read that, and that was like really, really good. And I'll put a link to it in here. It was like I don't know exactly what the title was, but it was all about justice and like God's justice and like just some of the things he brought up. I don't know, it was super powerful for me. So if I think it would be pretty cool for some atheists to kind of like engage with what I see as like really, really high quality like theology type stuff, because I think as personally that's what draws people to Christianity. It's not necessarily like I'm not saying there's not space for philosophical arguments. Kind of like give really quickly, like the way I see like philosophical arguments, kind of like breaking down barriers to belief more than like actually like causing people to believe. If that makes sense, I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that like people think like it's irrational to even think God exists, and that's where I think philosophy is important to kind of break that down. But I think what really, obviously, as we like as a Christian, you're gonna believe that like the gospel is what really draws people, and I think this sermon just like did an outstanding job of really portraying like who God is in like a really important way. So yeah, I'll put like I said, I'll put a link to it. It was a George MacDonald sermon on justice, is what it was called though.
Oh, it sounds. I might. Yeah, send that to me too when you get
I
the
will.
chance after,
Yeah.
because I'll read that. Um, I'm really struggling with this free thing. Like I would just point. I if we have an atheist that's really like interested in all this stuff, I would say go to Reasonable Faith and go through their Defender series, or go to Michael Heiser's website and um, look through some of the work he's done on the Old Testament. There's a lot of scholars that put out a lot of free work that I think you could go through. But as for like a specific free book or article, I guess I don't have anything off the top of my head. I'm writing a book, and that's going to be free, but I'm not going to plug that.
Well, there you go. You just got to wait a little bit. But yeah, no, I think, I wanted to say, Michael Heiser was like the one guy that like got me really interested in like scholarly conversations about Christianity.
Question 10. Which atheist channels would you recommend to your fellow theists?
Who's first on this one? I forgot.
I thought you were, but I actually wasn't too sure.
I forgot already. I'll just go first anyway. And then we can go from there. So there's a tough one because I think, let's put it this way. If we're looking at like evidential stuff, right? I think a lot of Christian channels and I think a lot of atheist channels are just really shallow. But if I had to pick like one atheist channel that I know of that I think raises really good points and has like a very systematic defense of their view, I would say like Digital Gnosis does some really good stuff.
He actually just answered these questions. Like he's like so on the fence too. So he like considers himself a Christian, so it doesn't quite count. But yeah, I mean he's like, I mean, he'll even admit, he's like really low credence level and whatnot.
Yeah. So like that's an atheist, but if I had to pick like a non-Christian channel, I would say Joe Schmid, like Majesty of Reason. That guy's just a whiz. And I think he can like present both sides of the argument very well, and you can trust him because he's an agnostic. You're not right. So those are, I guess, what I would say.
Yeah, I've recently been watching a lot of Myth Vision. But, like, most of the videos I really enjoy on there are winning interviews like Dale Allison or someone like that. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know if that really counts if I'm talking about the atheist channel and half the videos I like are the Christian ones. But, I mean, I do think he presents a lot of important stuff on there. Like I said, Digital Gnosis is a really good one because I've been on a number of his streams. They're always a good time. I mean, there's a lot of good channels, like, but I'm trying to think, like, I think what he's kind of asking for is, like, channels that put forward atheist arguments and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of I have a buddy Math Pig or whatever, his channel, but and he's an outspoken atheist, but I don't really think that's where this is going because he just kind of has conversations with people. It's less about arguments. But there's like a Walden Pod, Emerson Green, and he did some questions too. And he has a good channel as far as like philosophical arguments. Real Atheology for sure.
Yep.
Is a good one.
Do they have a YouTube channel?
They do. They don't post too much, but yeah, I don't know. So they're mainly a podcast, so I don't know if they quite count. But yeah, I feel like there's so many more. Amateur Exegete. That's a good one. That's pretty small channel, or he's only got like 300 something subscribers.
Okay. But
he does a lot of like Bible studies and stuff, and he used to be a Christian, but he's an atheist now. But really, like, he's like someone who really like respects the Bible in like a way that I think it would be really cool if more atheists, not that like every atheist has to like engage with the Bible in this way or anything, but I really think it's interesting to see his perspective. Like he's all about a lot of like scholars that I also watch.
Another good one that just comes to mind is he just started a YouTube channel, History for Atheists. I forgot his name.
Oh, Tim O'Neill or something, right?
Something like that. Yeah, I think he does it. I think he does a good job. I mean, Bart Ehrman he's an agnostic, I guess, but like there's a lot of them, right? I just don't know how many of those like popular atheist channels I would recommend.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like I don't know how many popular Christian channels I would recommend.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, according to some people, maybe I'm like some of my liberal beliefs count me as an atheist, so I'll count myself. You should watch me. No. So I think, is that the last question? No, there's more.
And that's the end of the 10 questions.
Yeah. So that was pretty quick, but they are making noise, I think, so we probably only have a few more minutes anyway. But this was fun. So it's just a quick little run through of some pretty interesting questions. I appreciate Than coming on. I'd love to have you on again. Maybe we can like actually talk some philosophy and stuff for sure, because that's what you're into. And I said, I'll throw your channel in the description, but everybody should go check it out. Exploring Reality. What I could do really quick before we go off is make you, or I can just post a link to your channel in the chat so people
You don't have to go that far, man.
do it really
I'm not
quick.
in this for the clout.
Well, either
Early
way, people should check you out
2019.
because I really do appreciate some
I
of
had
the
the thought.
stuff you're working on. But either way, cool. And yeah, now I'm like messing everything up trying to do it. You're right. I shouldn't do it. ADHD is terrible. I just like get something on my mind. I like decide I need to do it, but I really don't. It's not that big of a deal. But cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's an
Yeah,
honor.
yeah.